As many of the nation's colleges and universities remain closed to help limit the spread of coronavirus, Liberty University, the evangelical school in Lynchburg, Virginia, run by this man, Jerry Falwell Jr., decided to reopen last week, a move in direct contravention of basically all medical advice. Earlier this month, as governors around the country were closing all non-essential services and banning large gatherings, Jerry Falwell Jr., a staunch ally of the president's, went on Trump TV to talk about how everyone is overreacting.
It's just strange to me how so many are overreacting. Impeachment didn't work, and the Mueller report didn't work, and Article 25 didn't work, and so maybe now this is their next attempt to get Trump.
And so last week, Jerry Falwell Jr. ordered his students and staff back to school. And you'll never guess what happened next. The New York Times is reporting that as of Friday, nearly a dozen Liberty University students were sick with symptoms that suggested coronavirus. ProPublica reporter Alec McGillis visited Liberty University and reported on the reopening in a piece entitled "What It's Like on One of the Only University Campuses Still Open in the U.S." He joins me now by phone. Alec, what was it like down in Lynchburg?
It was very strange, Chris. It was a very odd tension, a very odd middle ground where on the one hand the campus was back open in contravention, as you said, of all sorts of public health advice and orders from various authorities. And so students were welcome to come back to campus. There were between 1,000 and 2,000 students back on campus. But at the same time, they were making these half-hearted attempts to do social distancing. So you had all these signs up. You had librarians kind of scolding students who got too close together in the library. And so you ended up with this really weird middle ground where they were basically at the sort of higher level from Jerry Falwell on down, trying to be provocative and keep things open and be different than everyone else. But then down on the ground, there were these half-hearted attempts to do things the right way. It was very, very weird.
There was also sort of a strange kind of climate of fear in your reporting and the reporting of the New York Times of people not wanting to talk on the record, or they were worried about speaking their mind about the policies of Falwell Jr. at the top?
Oh, definitely. One of the students, it was actually a graduate student whom I approached to ask what he made of all this. He was being forced to come back to work on campus as a assistant to a professor, and he said he could not be. He spoke with me, and he was very upset about the policy, but he didn't want to be named. He said that all students had been instructed not to speak to the press. One student who has been very outspoken, a senior member of student government who's been very outspoken, actually got a call at night on a cell phone from University Vice President scolding him, upbraiding him for having spoken out as he did. So there's definitely a real climate of the students feeling like they've been kind of caught in the middle of what certainly seems like just an attempt, a political gambit, an attempt at political provocation as part of this kind of national culture war around social distancing.
It's an enormous operation, a huge institution there in Lynchburg, Virginia. You said only one. I mean, it sounds like not that many students have come back, but the problem is so there's some voluntary nature there, but the employees basically have to come back. Is that how it works?
It is. What you have to understand about Liberty is that, and what makes this whole thing so especially odd, is that the campus has a huge online operation. So it's actually quite easy, much easier for this university than others to go fully online with its courses. And that online operation is run by a massive sort of sideline operation. You've got hundreds of employees in a building quite a ways away from campus who are cold calling students, recruiting students to the online operation. They've got 95,000 people in a given year taking classes there at Liberty. It's incredibly profitable. It's basically what makes the whole university run, is this massive nationwide online college. And those people at that online operation are still reporting to work, or were until last week still reporting to work, as are hundreds of employees were at another building that handle all the financial aid and all the tuition stuff. So you've got a lot of these workers who are quite worried about still having to come to work in close quarters.
And just as a final note here, I mean, Lynchburg, Virginia, I think you reported in your piece, it's 50,000 residents age 65 years or older. It's just not just about, I mean, as we all know, in the way pandemics and viruses function, it's not a call that Mr. Falwell Jr. is making for his own institution. It's a call that he is now making for the entire surrounding area.
Exactly. He's often said, well, what's the big deal? Students, young people don't really get that sick from this. But the problem, of course, is that they're very likely to spread it to others in the community. They're going to go off campus. They're going to, go get a coffee, go to Chick-fil-A, and it might be spreading it there. And it's such a concern, actually, that today the governor of Virginia has put out another order that certainly seems partly directed at places like Liberty that are still trying to kind of breach prior orders, and this one is even more stern,
Yeah.
and it really says you got to stay home or we're going to come after you. And it'll be very interesting to see if Liberty actually gets some kind of a fine now for having continued to do this.
Yeah, Governor Northam issuing essentially, I think, a shelter-in-place order for the state. We will see whether that resonates down in Lynchburg. Alec MacGillis, thank you so much. Great reporting.